there's a moment that, not a moment, there's an experience that happens in Newsies. Our beloved Andrew Keenan Bolger plays this much beloved character, Crutchie. He's the only newsboy who doesn't really dance.
Right.
And he's got this disability which makes him very vulnerable, and also it ties him to our hero, Jack Kelly, who is like a big brother to him and helps him, and it makes Jack heroic because he helps Crutchie. He's a very valuable character, and of course, Andrew plays it beautifully. But the nature of our story is, at the end of Act 1, there's a big brawl, and Crutchie gets essentially arrested, taken to the child's refuge, and he's beaten up really badly and carried away. And he's an important motor for the rest of the show, because we're worried about Crutchie, what happened to Crutchie, what happened to Crutchie could happen to others. So it's an important thing. But we lose Crutchie for the entire second act. So since I have you both here, and Newsies will, with any luck, be around in various forms for a long time, if we were to want a new song, I thought it would be fun, and I've talked about this with you each separately, but you haven't done this together. If there were a moment for Crutchie, what would it be? And could you write a song while we're sitting here in this show?
Okay, but first what I think I would do is I would look at what happened, for instance, with Beauty and the Beast.
So we added Tony Braxton.
So let's say, okay, this star is going to come into, Andrew's fantastic, but let's say a star is going to come in to play Crutchie, and we need to find a moment for that character. Because it's not really dramatically, intrinsically necessary, but if we were
to create a song,
and God knows people do that all the time, what would that moment be? And you and I have not discussed this particular.
No, I mean, Tom asked me to just sort of think a little bit about, sketch an idea out of a hypothetical. One thing I thought was, he's in the refuge.
Right.
He's severely beaten up, but he's a character with tremendous dignity. No self-pity. And the last thing you want to do is write a self-pitying, woe is me, what am I going to do song, because you're not going to get any sympathy from the audience if the character is telling you to cry for him. And so I thought, and Jack, as you said, is definitely his main connection. So I had the idea, what if he wrote a letter, or had somebody write a letter down for him to Jack?
Nice idea.
And using his sort of mixed up ideas of what a letter would be.
Because he's never written a letter.
Because he's never written a letter. So the form of the song, I thought, might be AABA. And I mapped out...
The classic 32 bar.
Yes, a 32 bar with a bridge in the middle and 3 sections that are the same.
An intimate number.
An intimate number.
Intimate and quiet.
Right. And that he would start, I remember when I was in camp, I was 6 years old and I was writing home, and I would say, dear mommy and daddy, how are you? I am fine. That's the kind of thing that Crutchie might write.
Pretend he was fine.
Right. Yes.
Upper lip.
Does anybody have a tape recorder here? Oh, I turned my phone off.
And in the throughout the song, he reassures Jack that he's fine. He says that he wants to get out of there. And then in the bridge, where musically it opens up, he maybe could sing about, and when we do, let's get the heck out of here and go to Santa Fe. And just like you said, I know that my leg will feel better from the sunshine and the fresh air. And then, as he starts to close the letter, because he's almost out of paper, he finishes by saying to him, tell the guys to soak him for Crutchie. Tell them they can even use the sign I made if they want to. And it's always nice if before you write, you have the last line. It doesn't always work out that way, but I thought maybe he would write, your friend.
Your friend.
And then cross it out, your best friend. And then cross it out and say, your brother. Crutchie. And this was literally like 10 or 15 minutes.
So this is what you would do?
I would get the feeling of the moment. I would, as Jack, I was thinking along the similar lines as Jack was, in terms of reflecting back to that first moment on the roof when they're talking about being in Santa Fe, and because that's their moment of connection. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful idea, Jack.
Do you have any lyric here? I want to hear something said against it.
It's just dummy lines.
Let me see the dummy lines. How are you? How are you? What does that say?
How are you? I am fine.
I am fine.
Well, except for the leg.
Well, except for the leg.
Which they busted up pretty bad.
Busted up pretty bad. You would probably stay in a...
maybe not even rhyme. Maybe no rhymes.
I am fine.
Because he's improvising, and it's a letter.
And the trick of this would be, you want to avoid certainly anything that's going to be like as if it's sort of a romantic connection. Mm-hmm. There's a connection that's more childlike than that on his. It's more a kid, writing to the parents that aren't there in a way.
And,
True.
And if you were going to take this the next step, would you then write this lyric all the way out, or would you go back and forth like this together?
I'd call my agent and have the agent call and see if...
Would you literally just sit there in Alan's studio or your apartment?
If I came to him with this idea, what more often than not we would do is we would be together and he would form a basis for the music, a vamp, a major theme in the music. And then very often I would ask him to finish the music. Because
I would generally I'll write a piece of music. I work at a keyboard that's MIDI keyboard, so I can give them a demo, run it off.
What does MIDI keyboard mean?
It's digital technology.
It's writing down what you play?
It's basically recording it, but I can record various sounds onto it, so he can distinguish the melody from the piano or whatever. Maybe I'll add
orchestrate.
A little orchestration on it. Sometimes a vocal onto it. Immediately make an MP3 and send it to him. Probably what occurs to me about this moment actually would be, because one of the things that also could be helpful in a way, but that moment where Snyder comes out and Crutchie sort of, handcuffs him, and I feel like maybe it's a little unearned. Maybe we should see somehow, maybe someone in that refuge should come in and smack him a couple of times in the middle of the song.
Okay, because this is one idea. Would you normally take one all the way through, or would you then kick out another idea?
Well, I was just going to say, I could very easily have come in, or I could come to Alan's and he could sit down and play me something, and one or the other of us would say, I don't know.
We could say, look, maybe he's thinking about that Palomino. I could write in style, and maybe it's a song about a Palomino. Maybe it's got a Western feel to it.
But assuming that we have enough faith in it to give it a shot, I would generally, it would be one session where, generally within one session, Alan will work out the skeleton of
Are
the
you
song.
ever wrong?
Poor little kids versus rich, greedy sourpusses. Oh, it's a cinch. It could practically write itself, and let's pray it does. Because as I may have mentioned, I have no clue